Hi, welcome to my channel To Irrational. I'm Pranay Sharma, and in this video we are going to discuss the solutions of CM1 paper A conducted by IFoA Institute in September 2023. We'll go through the detailed explanation of each of the sums, but if you want the answer sheet, you should WhatsApp, Telegram your email ID to the number that I am leaving in the description below. You should also subscribe for any future actuarial updates and leave a comment in this video, especially if you find any mistake in my solution. I'll pin a comment below with any corrections if there are any. So let's get started. Question number 1. A mortality table gives the value of A50 is equal to 0.3 at an interest rate of 5% per annum effective. Calculate using appropriate approximations where necessary and showing all workings the value for these four. So A bar 50, that is payable immediately on death, will be 1 plus I raised to half into A50. This is an approximate relation. Then when it comes to annuity in arrears 50, that will be annuity in due minus 1, and annuity in due is going to be 1 minus A50 by D. So we get 13.7. And when it comes to A bar 50, you can either use the assurance or you can use A due 50. Both relations are approximate, so you will get slightly different answers, but both are acceptable. So I have used here A bar 50 assurance, and here I have used A due 50. Both will be acceptable. And the fourth one, we have A due 50 payable 4 times. So we'll have A due 50 minus M minus 1 by 2M, where M is 4. So we get 14.325. Let's go to question number 2. Question number 2. A government department has designed a proxy financial model of the economy. A different department would like to borrow the model, update the data, and use it for its own purpose. Describe the drawbacks of this approach. So I have written a few, but they are not limited to only these many. So there might be many more. So first one is, as the new department is unaware of the formulation and approximations taken to design the model, it may not be designed for the input data chosen by them. Second is, it may not give the output in the form that the second department is looking for. It may be difficult to interpret some of the outputs. Third is, the validation of the model would not have been done for the new data. Fourth, any additional or elimination of parts of the model may not be possible or appropriate. Fifth is, it may be difficult to validate the model's assumption, method, credibility, or accuracy. Sixth is, sensitivity of the output to the new data may not be known, and hence relations may not be known or may not be accurate, something like that. Okay. Seventh is, the extent of correlation between various outputs may not be known. So these are only few. As I said, there may be many more that you can write. Let's go to question number 3. Question number 3. Explain in words what is meant by 5 deferred, 1Q, X1Y. And then in the second part, we have to calculate the same thing with the constant forces of mortality for X and Y given. So it is probability that joint life survives 5 years and then male life dies within 1 year. Male life dies first within 1 year in the joint life aged X and Y. So a few things that will be important, that joint life survives 5 years or both life survive 5 years, and then male life dies first within 1 year. Now we are to find the same thing for the given constant forces of mortality. So first I have written TPXY. So that is going to be e raised to minus 0.035t. So accordingly 5pxy will give me this much. and I have calculated 1Q X1Y. That is, both of them are live till time t, and then X dies immediately. I forgot here dt. There should be a dt here. So integrating that, we get this much. And because it does not, because we have constant forces of mortality, it does not matter whether we were at age x and y or we were at age x plus y, 5 and y plus 5. It will not make any difference. That is why I can multiply these two and get this much. So the answer would be 0.020623. Let's go to question number 4. Question number 4. An insurance company sells 2-year endowment assurance to life age 67 exact. On early surrender of the policy, a sum equal to the total premium received is returned to the policyholder. The surrender value is payable immediately on surrender. The company is profit testing the policy and is setting up the dependent rates of decrement. Calculate showing all workings the dependent rates of surrender. So we want finally the dependent rates of surrender. That's our final agenda here. Okay. So we have to take independent mortality rates from AM92 ultimate, and independent surrender rates are given here. We are assuming forces of decrement are constant between integer ages. So first we will take the independent values from AM92 ultimate, and these are the values given, surrender values given. So then we'll calculate the mu and the sigma values. So mu x would be nothing but minus log of 1 minus qx for death, and sigma x would be 1 minus log of 1 minus qx of surrender. Then we'll calculate the APX. APX would be e raised to minus of mu x plus sigma x. Then AQXD and AQXS. For AQXD, I have used this formula, that is our mu x upon mu x plus sigma x, 1 minus APX. For AQXS also you can use the same formula, where here we'll have sigma, but you can also use the relationship that total has to be equal to 1. So AQXS would be 1 minus APX minus AQXD. So these will be your final answers. This is what is expected from you. But of course, you'll have to show all of these values calculated. I did calculate all of these in Excel and then copy pasted here and then wrote the relevant formulas. Let's go to question number 5. Question number 5. A car rental company purchases car at a price of 24,000 per car. The company immediately rents them out to the customer on a 4-year contract before selling them at the end of the contract for the price of 9,000. The rental income is payable continuously throughout the 4-year period and increases by 1,500 at the end of each year. Calculate showing all working the initial annual rental rate that the company must charge for each car in order to achieve an internal rate of return of 12% per annum. So basically the rate of interest that we are going to use is 12% per annum. So here first we will take I as 12%. We have taken X as the initial annual rental rate. We'll make the equation, that is price, and here we'll have the rental part because it is increasing and continuous. We'll have X minus 1,500 A bar 4 plus 1,500 IA bar 4, and after 4 years sale at 9,000. So 9,000 V raised to 4. Calculate the relevant values and then substitute. We get X as 3,645.64. Let's go to the next question. Question number 6. An insurance company issues a deferred whole of life increasing annuity policy to a life age 50 exact. The payments are continuous and start at 5,000 per annum from age 60. Once in the payment, the annuity increases at 2.5% per annum compound with increase occurring continuously. This is very important because the increase is occurring continuously. We'll be subtracting this directly from delta. Calculate showing all working the expected present value of the annuity. So we have interest rate given, mortality, in deferment is ELT 15 female, and then we have constant force of mortality of 4.1% per annum. So first thing, as I said, delta dash, because it was continuously increasing, I will take delta minus the increase. So this becomes a new delta, that is 0.019. Mu is 0.041 and our TP60 will be e raised to minus mu t. So this 10P50 will take from ELT15 female, and here we will say V raised to T, that is our e raised to minus delta dash T into TP60 dt. This is our annuity payments. Payment given at time T for anybody that survives time T. Both of them you will substitute and you will get e raised to minus of delta dash plus mu T. Integrate it and then substitute 0 to infinity. You will just get 1. Okay, here 1 upon 0.06. I forgot a minus sign here. There should be a minus sign. So the final answer is 1.02287. Let's go to the next question. Question number 7. A company has to meet the liability payment at the end of each of next 25 years. The payment at the end of the first year is 1.2 million. Thereafter, the payments are expected to increase at a fixed rate of 4.3902% per annum compound. Whenever we have such a rate, you will figure out that it converts it into some good rate of interest. So anyways, first part is calculate showing all working the duration of the company's liability using an effective rate of interest of 7% per annum. Because we have a compound increase and we have to find the duration, it would be better if we convert it into I dash. So the I dash, that is our I minus B upon 1 plus B, turns out to be 2.5%. So we will have 1.2 million upon 1 plus B into annuity in arrears at the rate of I dash. So we get 21.18 approximately millions. So here I have shown all the things that we are calculating. Because for duration in the numerator we will then require IA25 at the same rate of interest of I dash. So the duration comes out to be 11.72. And for the second part, the rate at which the payments are expected to increase has been revised and is now greater than 4.3902% per annum. Identify with reason whether your answer to part 1 will increase, decrease or remain unchanged. Do not perform further calculations. So we'll say as the rate of increase in cash flow is greater than before, the future cash flows will be higher than before. As the duration is a weighted average of time where the weights are the discounted cash flow at that time, larger cash flows would increase the average. Hence, the duration will increase. So we are just saying future cash flows will be higher than what we had before because the rate of increase has increased, and because it is a weighted average, weights are now more, automatically the duration will be more. Let's go to the next question. Question number 8. A life insurance company issues a 15-year decreasing endowment assurance policy which provides a sum assured given by the formula this. So clearly it's a decreasing. So initial sum assured seems to be 150,000 and each year it is decreasing by 5,000, where T denotes the policy year. The sum assured is payable on maturity at age 60 exact or at the end of the year of death if earlier. The level premiums are payable annually in advance. So they have given you the maturity age. So we'll subtract 15 years and we'll start from age 45. Calculate showing all working the gross premium. For this, interest rate is 6%, mortality is AM92 ultimate, we have the initial expense, renewal expense as well as the claim expense. So we'll first make the equation expected present value of premium. We'll get directly from the table book at 6% rate of interest this value. Then expected present value of benefit, we'll have 150,000 plus 500 and then minus 500 increasing. So I've calculated the death benefit and then here maturity benefit. I've calculated this. This would be nothing but 150,000 minus 15 into 5,000 gives me this much. So 15 years of decrease will give me 80,000. Then we come up to expenses. We had initial expense of 300 plus 25% of the first premium. Then renewal expenses were 3% for the remaining premiums minus the first. And then we had the claim expense. Now claim expense was 2% of sum assured. Now I have assumed that it is 2% of initial sum assured throughout. That is why I am taking the initial sum assured as 150,000 and 2% of that, because that is how usually it is taken, but it is not very clear from the question. So you can see that the question says 2% of the sum assured. They should have written initial sum assured, but from all the previous experiences they always take initial sum assured, not the decreasing sum assured. So we'll calculate the term as well as the increasing term assurance and substitute. We'll get the premium as 3,795.527. And for the second part, the company calculates prospective gross premium reserve using the basis shown in part 1. So the basis has not changed. Calculate the prospective gross premium reserves immediately before the 6th premium is paid. You should show all your working. So we are talking about before 6th premium, that would be 5V, that is reserve kept at the end of the 5th year. So first sum assured for the 6th year. I've just substituted T is equals to 6 in that equation, got 125,000. So I have now calculated all the future cash flows, expected present values. So expected present value of future premiums, we are going to be at age 50 going for another 10 years because we are calculating 5V. So then similarly expected present value of benefit and expected present value of expenses. So we basically have very similar equations for benefit. Instead of 45, 15, we will have 50 and 10. But again, the sum assured will change. Okay. So times 6 sum assured is 125,000. For expenses, we will not have initial expense. We will not subtract -1 when it comes to renewal expense. But we'll have this and this going from age 50 going another 10 years. So again, similar calculations here, and the reserve that we'll get is 19143.503. Then we have the company calculates the surrender value at the retrospective reserve using the basis described in part 1, but using an interest rate of 5% per annum effective. Identify with reason whether the surrender value will be greater than, equal to, or less than the amount calculated in part 2. Do not perform any further calculations. So we'll say if all the basis of calculating reserves and the calculating premium are same, then the retrospective reserve will be same as prospective reserve. But if rate of interest is decreased, the expected accumulated net value of the past cash flows will earn less interest, and hence the surrender value will be less than 5V calculated in part 2. All I am saying is the calculation done for retrospective will give us less value than the calculation done for prospective in part 2. Let's go to the next question. Question number 9. First part. Explain why the life insurance company might need to set up non-unit reserves in respect of a unit-linked life insurance policy. So we say if there is negative profit during later years, or you could just say losses, later years of the unit-linked policy, the company may have to set up non-unit reserves from the earlier years from the earlier year profits for compensating for those losses. This way, the policy is self-sufficient and may require capital only at the start of the policy. A 4-year unit-linked policy issued to a life age 45 exact has the following pattern of the end of the year cash flow per policy in force at the start of each year. That means this is profit vector. These are profit vector values. Second A, calculate showing all working the net present value of the profit on this policy. Basis is given here, AM92, select mortality. Reserving rate will come out later, and we have risk discount rate of 8%. So AM92 select mortality, taken QX from the tables, and PX is just 1 minus QX, and T minus 1 APX will be used here to find profit signature. Profit signature would be profit vector into this T minus 1 APX. I have written the formula here as well. Then discounting factor calculated using the risk discount rate of 8% per annum, and net present value will just be profit signature into discounting factor then added together. So net present value will just be 14.158. B part, calculate showing all workings the non-unit reserves required to zeroize the negative cash flows. So we'll start from bottom. The first negative cash flow is at time 3. So the first reserve that we'll keep would be at time 2. So time 2, negative cash flow upon 1 plus I. This is the amount of reserve that we'll keep. We'll take it out from the non-unit cash flow at time 2. And this becomes the new non-unit cash flow at time 2. Then the reserve that we'll keep at time 1 to compensate for that will be this much. And the non-unit cash flow at time 1 will just be this now. So the reserve that we'll be keeping is going to be at time 1 and time 2. And the non-unit cash flow for time 2 and time 3 becomes 0. We just have cash flows now at time 1 and time 4. C. Recalculate showing all working the net present value of the profit after zeroization. So now we have zeroized. Now we have to do the same thing. Calculate net present value after zeroization. So take the profit vector and profit signature. We have already calculated T minus 1 APX. We have the discounting factors. Take the net present value, add them up, and we'll get now 12.51. D part, discuss any differences between your answer in part 2A and 2C. Keeping reserves delays the profit from early years to compensate for losses in later years. As rate at which the reserves are kept is lower than the risk discount rate, keeping reserves will decrease the net profit. That is exactly what we observe here. And third part, the interest rate used to calculate the reserve is changed to J% per annum effective, where it is between 4% and 8%. So basically increased than more than 4%, but it is less than risk discount rate yet. So discuss the effect on your answer to the part 2A and 2C. Do not perform any further calculation. So part 3, if the interest rate of reserves is between 4% and 8%, then the reserve will earn more interest. Hence, we would need to keep less reserve to compensate for the future losses. This will release more profits in the earlier years and increase the overall profitability in 2C. There will be no change in 2A because we have not kept any reserves in 2A. Let's go to the next question. Question number 10. The force of interest is a function of time and at any time t measured in years is given by the formula this. First part is derive and simplify as far as possible the expression for Vt, where Vt is the present value of a unit sum of money due at time t. You should consider separately the cases of 0 to 8 and then greater than 8. So first we will consider 0 to 8. We say Vt is nothing but e raised to minus of 0 to t, and this is our delta s ds. So we'll simply integrate it and we are going to substitute the value of t, and this is what we get. For the later part, we will substitute 8 here and we'll get e raised to minus 0.4. Now for t greater than 8, v raised to t will be v8 into e raised to from 8 to t, the new delta s ds. Again integrating it, this is what we'll get. We'll substitute the value t and 8, and finally we get e raised to minus of 0.07 t plus 0.16. So this becomes our Vt, final answer. Second A, demonstrate that it will take more than 8 years for an investment to double in value, and B part is calculate showing all working the exact time in years it will take for an investment to double in value. So first I want to show that it will take more than 8 years, so I am calculating the accumulation factor from 0 to 8. So that would be 1 by V8. And it gives me 1.49. So clearly it is less than 2. So it will take more than 8 years to double an investment. Then for B part, we'll calculate exactly what time it is going to be. So my accumulation factor from 0 to t should be equal to 2. And because we know it is now more than 8 years, that is why we are going to take this value. So inverse of v raised to t. Then e raised to goes here, so I'll have log 2. So t becomes 12.188 years. So it will take 12.188 years to double the investment. For the third part, the inflation rate over the first 10 years has been constant or at 2% per annum convertible quarterly. Calculate showing all working the real rate of return obtained on an investment made over this period. Express your answer as a percentage nominal rate per annum convertible quarterly. So first thing we'll do is we'll calculate the effective annual average rate of interest. So A10 is e raised to 0.54. I've just substituted 10 here, t is equals to 10, and accordingly I'll get I as 5.55%. J, because it was given in convertible quarterly, that is why I've converted into effective. I got 2.0155%. Then calculated the real rate of interest, simply I minus j upon 1 plus j, and then converted it into convertible quarterly. So the final answer is 3.42%. Let's go to the next question. Question number 11. A loan is repaid over a term of 20 years by monthly installments paid in arrears. During the first year, the annual rate of payment is 5,000. This rate then reduces by 300 at the start of each subsequent year of the term up to and including the start of 10th year, after which the rate remains unchanged. The installments were calculated using a nominal rate of interest of 9% per annum convertible monthly for the first 10 years and 10.5% per annum convertible monthly for the remainder of the term. Calculate using appropriate annuity factor and showing all working the amount of the loan. So first I have just converted the rates of interest into effective. Now the loan we are saying we will have increasing, but the increasing is not happening every single month. Even though the payment is monthly, increasing is happening annually. So therefore I have taken A1 payable 12 times out, and inside I will then have the A due values, that means annually in advance. Now instead of this, you could have taken annuity in arrears payable 12 times and increasing annuity in arrears payable 12 times, where your payable 12 times formula will only be affected in the denominator if you write the formula like this for your IA and payable 12 times, then it would be correct. But I prefer this, taking A1 payable 12 times outside, and then everything becomes annually in advance. And then after 10 years, the payment remains the same. Calculate that by 5000 minus 300 into 9, and that would become 2300. And we have the second rate of interest now. So A10 payable 12 times at the second rate of interest. And of course discounting for the first 10 years at the initial rate of interest. Now I've calculated all four values and the loan amount becomes 31,246.43. Second part, calculate using appropriate annuity factors and showing all workings the capital and the interest component of the sixth monthly installment. So because we have to calculate for the sixth monthly installment, we'll have to calculate loan outstanding after the fifth installment. So that is L5. I have taken the retrospective method because it will be easier. I have to treat only one rate of interest and actually only one annuity. Otherwise, if I take prospective, I will have to start from half a year, or actually 5 months and later. So first 5 months I have to leave, so 7 months of the first year to the 20 years. That will be too much. So I preferred taking retrospective approach because it would be very easy to calculate. So the initial loan amount minus, in the first year only 5,000 is the payment. There is no increase because increase is starting from the second year. Actually decrease, not increase, my mistake. And we'll have 1 plus I raised to 5 by 12 to bring it to the time 5 months. So this much is the loan that is left. Now for the interest component, we'll just say loan outstanding into the effective rate of interest per month. That is 227.408. And then the capital component will just be the monthly installment, that is 5,000 by 12 minus the interest component, that gives me 189.259. That brings us to the end of this paper, and overall the paper was very simple. I did not find any question that had a big complication. Maybe this last question where we had increasing annuity payable 12 times, that would have been a little bit complicated. But other than that, I did not find any question that was complicated. Now in paper B, there was at least one question that was a little bit complicated, but again overall the paper was simple there as well. So I am expecting the passing mark to be higher again. Last time the passing mark went to 62 marks. Hopefully this time it will not go beyond 60, but still I am expecting it to be high, somewhere around 57, 58, 59. So I wish you have all done well and would definitely cross this mark. If you find any mistake in my solution, please leave a comment. I'll reply as soon as possible. Do subscribe to my channel so that you get the video for the paper B as well. That will come out in a few days. So I'll see you in the next one.